Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 7, entitled as Jnana Vijnana Yoga, Sloka 12. Ye caiva sāttvikā bhāvā, rājasās tāmasāś ye, matta eveti tān viddhi, natvaham teṣu mayi. We have living entities, the Purushas, who possesses the intelligence. So, the Purusha, the living entities, and the Prakriti, the non-intelligent matter, team up together and create this entire universe. Where is the question of Ishvara? We don't need one. For this response, in the previous session, we saw few examples that they have. The milk, which can create yogurt, the grass, which turns into milk, the Prakriti that carries everything like a camel carrying the load, and the layman and the blind man working together. We have already rejected this example in our session because the milk cannot do things by itself. Someone needs to start the process so the milk can convert into yogurt. The grass given to bull does not produce milk. It only has certain rules. The grass is given to cow will give milk, but not to bull. And the camel carrying the load, the camel is not going to do things by its own. Someone have to place the load on top of the back of the camel. And we also saw the layman and blind man example where both of them are conscious being, whereas the Sankhya is trying to prove their theory that the Prakriti and Purusha, the unintelligent and intelligent, will work together to create this universe. The example that they gave was lame man and the blind man. But both of them they possess intelligence. Therefore, this example was rejected. We went through these things in the previous session. But the Sankhya does not give up so easily. If we accept God creates Prakriti, then what inspires God to make this creation a world with full of pain and pleasure? Also, one cannot say that God did this as his Leela pastime, creating this Leela Vibhuti, meaning the material world, for his own desire. Why? Because desire implies imperfection, the quality that God cannot have. The living entities have raga and dvesha, liking and dislike, attachment and hatred. But we cannot accept that God possesses such nature. Therefore, there is no such thing as God who is cause of everything. It is Purusha, the living entities that we see, are good enough to inspire the unconscious, unintelligent Prakriti to manifest in the form of this universe. This is their argument. Hope it makes sense. It's simple. The world is full of pain and pleasure. If God is the cause of this world, why he needs to create this world with pain and pleasure? What's the reason? If he does for the sake of his own pleasure, as Leela, that means he has desires. If he has desires, then he is imperfect. God cannot be imperfect. God cannot have desires. Therefore, this thing cannot come from God, it has to come from the Prakriti. And if you say that an intelligence is required to make the Prakriti, this whole creation, then the living entities that exist is sufficient enough to inspire the Prakriti to manifest this universe. But there's a problem with this one. That is, the living entities sufficient enough to inspire the Prakriti. This cannot be accepted. Why? Because there are unlimited living entities. We never heard that all the living entities gathered in one conference hall and they all decided to inspire the Prakriti, the Pradhana, to create the universe. We never heard such things. Well, if it is not all, if it is just one or few living entities that they decided to inspire the Prakriti, then it is against the will of other living entities. So this argument doesn't sound effective from the theistic point of view. So when it comes to the creation, the philosophers, various philosophers, places their explanation of evolution under two bases. One is called Satkaryavada, another one is called Asatkaryavada. Satkaryavada means the effect exists in its cause prior to its production, whereas the Asatkaryavada is that the effect does not exist in its cause prior to its manifestation. This Satkaryavada is further classified into two, Vivartavada and Parinamavada. Vivartavada means where the change of the cause is really doesn't happen, but it appears to be so. For example, when one sees a snake in a rope, it is not true that rope is really transformed into snake. It simply appears to be like that. So this is adapted by the Advaita philosophy. Parinamavada, which according to them, the real transformation takes place from cause to become an effect. For example, a wood transformed into chair, milk transformed into yogurt. So from this we can understand that the Sankhya philosophy is based on Satkaryavada and Parinamavada. That is, the effect comes from cause and the cause changes its form into effect. Because we see so many differences in the creation, number one. Number two, we see so many different qualities filled with pain and pleasure and indifferences. It cannot be God. It is the Prakriti, the Pradhana, which is the cause of creation of this entire universe. It is not only Sankhya, the other Darshana, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Yoga, Mimamsa, pretty much they all deny the supremacy of God or limit the greatness of God. For example, the Yoga Darshana, Yoga, accept the existence of God, but it limits God only to Nimitta Karana. They also do not agree that God is Upadhana Karana, instrumental cause. Let's pause here and see what Krishna has to say to all these things that we saw so far in our next session. Ye caiva sāttvikā bhāvā rājasās tāmasāś ye, matta eveti tān viddhi, natvaham teṣu te mayi. Namaste. Hare Krishna.